the places where Icelanders were hanging out to do its consultations, to get its ideas and to have its discussions about these proposals. So they created a group on Facebook. They went and used Twitter. They recorded lots of conversations on YouTube and invited citizens to upload their own videos. They made use of Flickr to document all of their meetings. But they used these free tools that are already out there to conduct a nationwide constitutional conversation, a very, very fundamentally important conversation for any country. What should our Constitution say? And they recently came out with a proposal. One website that is only 4 months old, but that I'm incredibly excited about, that's an example of people outside the government, entrepreneurs outside the government, using platform technologies to change the way and improve the way government works, is a site called mclaughlin in Latvia. Like I said, it's 4 months old, and it's 5 months old, and it's the product of two 20-something programmers that had this great idea that has been embraced by the Latvian government, and that is a structured petition site that allows any citizen to propose an idea. And here's how it works. If you want to create a proposal for the Latvian Parliament, you go to their website and you create a web page where you outline your idea. Your job is to then get 1,000 people to go and give that site a thumbs up. The catch is that that URL for that page is not public. Only you know it. So you have to go market it through email or Twitter or Facebook, but convince 1,000 people to go to that page and say, yes, we like this idea. If you get to 1,000, it then flips over to the public part of the site. So this homepage that you see here shows different proposals down the middle. And your job is to convince 10,000 people to give this a thumbs up. And if you get to 10,000 people, your reward is you get 5 minutes of time on the floor of the parliament to present your idea. That's all. They don't promise a vote. They don't promise to approve it. They just say, if you can get 10,000 Latvians to like your idea, then we will listen to it. And it's very respectful of the Republican democratic institutions of the country, but it's a great way for citizen ideas to boil up. And already 2 proposals have become law that have worked their way through the Monoval system, both related to fighting corruption. It's a great example of how you can structure it. And you remember I mentioned data.gov earlier. I also want to say that these kinds of ideas are absolutely within the grasp of every kind of country at every point in the income scale. So Kenya just launched an open data initiative that tries to provide their data sets online, and they did an apps contest, and Kenyan entrepreneurs stepped up and built applications that make use of that data. So let me just make one important note, which is technology can't solve everything, and blind use of technology definitely can't solve everything. This is a sign seen in China. The Chinese characters on the left say railway restaurant, and whoever made this sign wanted to translate it in English, and as you can see it says translate server error. So blind use of technology is definitely stupid, and when it comes to government, you need to have human engineering, bureaucratic engineering that goes along with the software engineering. And this is where I think startups are so important. Startups can thrive on government data. They can also help governments figure out how to behave more like a data platform for the benefit of their citizens. So let me close with this quick thought. So some of the consequences of these economics that I mentioned, computers that are getting ever faster and cheaper, connectivity that's getting ever faster and cheaper, and more ubiquitous around the world, and this kind of distributed democratic internet architectural model, they're allowing people to create startups that are profoundly disruptive of major industries with very, very small amounts of money. So one of my favorites right now is a company in the US called Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is basically crowdfunding of cultural, artistic projects. So if you want to record an album, you can go to Kickstarter and say, I would like to record an album. Here's who I am. I need $25,000. And if you give 100, I will give you a signed DVD. If you give me 50, I'll call you on the phone. If you give me 10, I'll send you an email, and we'll be friends on Facebook. And they reward people for giving money with these kind of like small symbolic sorts of rewards. But it's raised more than $10 million in the last 2 years for movies and art projects and records and short films, dance recitals, and all sorts of artistic projects. The reason that this is so powerful is that A, It costs very little money. You can use somebody else's hosting infrastructure. You can use open source tools for your website. You just have to build a community around it to make it work. And it's highly disruptive of the intermediaries, the movie studios, record labels, publishing companies that have traditionally exacted a very heavy price to help raise money for artists. If you're a musician, you would much rather be keeping that money yourself than giving a big check over to a production company. So it's a small number of people, highly disruptive, leveraging the platform infrastructure to disrupt an industry. Another one is called Airbnb. The name is a play on B&B, which is bed and breakfast, and an airbed, which is like an inflatable bed that you put in your living room. And so their idea is that anybody's apartment could essentially be rented. And so they invite you to list your house, your bedroom in your house for rent, like a hotel room. And they use a very sophisticated and clever system of getting the renters to rate the rooms and the people who are doing the renting to rate the customers, so that both sides can build greater trust in each other, so that you don't have to worry about some thief coming and stealing everything in your house. Although that did happen once, by the way. And so Airbnb is highly disruptive of the hotel industry because it uses underutilized capacity, namely spare bedrooms and living room couches and so forth, and enables people to make money off of an asset that they didn't even know they had. And again, leverages the platform power of the internet. The third one I want to mention is Khan Academy, which is a sort of a one-man educational platform that has gotten huge amounts of attention in the U.S. because it's super high-quality instruction done by one guy using YouTube and basically providing free lessons in math, in history, in physics, in chemistry, and it's unclear exactly how they're going to support themselves, but I would guess advertising and sponsorship. But anyway, it leverages this global reach to enable like a group of people in Pakistan to learn physics together by watching videos on YouTube. The one last example I want to mention is a company called Ushahidi, which is out of Kenya. And Ushahidi was born out of the violence that followed the elections in 2008. And it was a way for people to text messages to short code and then have those messages, text messages about violence, reports of violence, to a short code and then appear automatically on a map. And they've turned it into a hybrid, open source, nonprofit, and for-profit cluster of companies that do really great visualization technologies and can be used by NGOs, by private sector companies, by governments to visualize crowdsourced data, manage it, interpret it, and they make money by providing services and implementation on top of these open source software. So my final theme before I finish is that one of the huge things that a startup in Argentina benefits from right now is that the internet is borderless. You can reach customers in every corner of the world. This is obvious, but it's incredibly powerful when you're able to take advantage of it. A regional focus, a national focus is maybe a good place to start, but the world really is your oyster. We've seen people communicate Mentos and Diet Coke experiments, beg for Britney to be left alone, but also use these same tools and platforms for incredibly powerful political change. All over the world, these platforms which exist elsewhere but are accessible through the internet are fueling connections among people that enable them to self-organize. And for startups, the opportunity is equally profound. This collection of companies is truly changing the world, and there's no reason that it can't come from Argentina as well. I want to end up with one slightly counterintuitive thought, which is this. In an editorial about 3 days ago, Mark Andreessen wrote a piece called Why Software is Eating the World. And his argument was that the great value creator in business today in technology is software. It's not hardware. It's not hardware plus software. It's really software. And he tries to make kind of an optimistic case. He's trying to give some assurance to Americans that the country's deficits and general bad economy is not something to be too worried about. And he says that the United States has these advantages. It has great research universities, a pro-risk business culture, deep pools of innovation seeking equity capital, and reliable business and contract law. And because I was here in Argentina, it's got me to thinking that When I first started coming to Argentina in 1999, this was the advice that I felt like I heard people giving in countries like Argentina all the time, which is you have to get your institutions straight, you have to get your rule of law together, you have to fight corruption, you have to get more risk capital, and all these sorts of pieces of advice. The reality, though, is that this turns out not really to be true. You can build great companies even in spite of the fact that you still have a lot of work to do in these different areas. Looking around this room today, I know that many of you have either already built, are looking to build, or will build in the next couple of years, companies that don't need to wait for anybody in the government to fix their plans or policies or to improve their operations or purge themselves of corruption or make the courts more independent or any of these pieces of advice. You don't need any of that. You have a global market in front of you and tools of cheap computing and connectivity that is ubiquitous, that will enable you to build businesses that can really dominate the world in the industries you choose to dominate. So that's my concluding note. The world is your oyster. Your startups will save the world because you can take advantage of these powerful forces that are now sitting in your pocket on your smartphone. Thank you very much.